Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So as you can see, I'm back in my old E46 M3, and for a change of scenery basically, I've just decided to come into the city today rather than out in the countryside, which I'm now regretting because the Christmas markets are on and it's absolutely rammed. There are people everywhere. I've just been sat in traffic for like 30 minutes. I've nearly finished this project now, and I'm really excited to show you what it looks like because I'm just overwhelmed with it. I'm so pleased with how it looks. It has cost a lot of money, to be honest, but I'll get into that later. I've not cut any corners, I've done it properly, and I'm really proud of myself. Well, saying that, it's not really me that's done the work, it's been talented mechanics and painters. I'm just the sucker with the maxed out MasterCard. When you think back to how it looked when I bought it, it was a tired looking old girl. Honest maybe, but tired nevertheless. And now if you look at it now, it looks like new. It could be 2005. Look how many people there are. People everywhere. It's like Manhattan. Who'd have thought there'd be that many people that want some mulled wine and a bratwurst? That's the second Uber Eats cyclist that I've nearly ran over. Since we last spoke, I've spent a lot more on it. I had some D-bushes replaced on the front because it was knocking every time I went down a bump, and I just couldn't live with that. So that took care of all the mechanical stuff. Then it was on to the cosmetics. There wasn't anything drastically wrong with it. The front end was covered in stone chips. There was a tiny little rust bubble on one of the wheel arches, and there was a microscopic rust bubble on one of the rear wheel arches. So what any sane person would have done would be to touch in the stone chips carefully and then maybe spend a couple £100 on the rest. But that's not what I did. What I did was take it to the best paint shop in the area and spend a couple of grand on basically a respray. I say a respray, they didn't paint the roof, which was good, mainly because that's made of fabric and not metal. But pretty much every other panel's been painted, and it now looks like new. I'm just trying to justify this in my head. But I am pleased with it, there's no regrets at all. I didn't want to just repair and paint the front wings because then it wouldn't have matched with the doors. With it being silver, it's quite a difficult colour to match. And with the car being 15 years old, it would have looked a bit odd if the wings were brand new silver paint and the doors were 15 years old. And the lads at Paint Perfect really know what they're doing. They've transformed it. They've stripped the front end down to bare metal to get rid of all the stone chips. Then they put etching primer on, which looks like the M3 Phoenix Yellow. Anyway, it was only etching primer. And then they've painted the whole car. One interesting bit of information that I learned, when they were stripping the paint back, they told me that the front end and the driver's side had never had any previous paint. It was all totally original, which was reassuring. So maybe I did buy an honest, genuine M3 after all. When they stripped down the paint on the passenger side, that wasn't the original paint, so it had had a repair, but there was no bog or filler in it. So it hadn't seen the wrong side of a hedge. All it had probably had at some point in its life was a respray down that side. So somebody's probably keyed it, or they've scratched it or something like that, but it wasn't, you know, serious damage. This sounds really sad now, but I keep catching my reflection in a shop window, and it just looks really cool. Not my reflection, but the car's reflection. I bought new badges from BMW, which have really lifted it. The old ones were all faded and discoloured. I stopped by Paint Perfect just as they were building it back up together. And bear in mind, I replaced both front fog lamps because I didn't want to just replace one because it would make the other one look twice as bad. One of the indicators had a little bit of like misting inside where it had a stone chip and it had let, you know, water in. So I had that replaced, but rather than just replace one, again I replaced them both. So that was new new fog lamps, new indicators. Also, the old headlamps were a little bit worn and old looking, and I didn't want to replace the whole front end and then put the old headlamps back. Now, because they're like xenon whatever they are, I thought they'd be extortionate. But thanks to another YouTube channel that I've been watching who's been doing up his old M3, I'll leave the link below for that so you can check it out for yourself. Thanks to watching him, I realised that you could replace just the lenses. So I spoke to BMW and they were £78 each, which I thought was a bargain. So I replaced both those front lenses, and now the front end just looks like new. The indicators were about £30, the fog lamps were about £60, and the lenses were £78 each. So all in all, it's not too expensive really, is it? For parts for an M3 anyway, you'd expect it to be way more than that. So the grand total for all that work, bear in mind this is painting it and hours of labour, plus all the parts, was £2,398.96. Then I picked it up and took it straight to Prestige Wheels in Stockport, who have refurbished the diamond cut wheels. Again, I could have saved some money and just had them painted for about £40 a wheel, or got them powder coated for £60 a wheel. But I love originality. I don't really like modified things. I prefer the clean look of an original car, and especially with this car. So I had the diamond wheels refurbished, and that cost £408 for the set. But again, they just look like new. The old ones had all peeled and flaked and looked terrible. Then I ordered new centre caps straight from BMW rather than Beijing, so they came right away. Then I had the car professionally valeted, because I'd never even had it cleaned before. And the interior came up really well too. There's no wear on the steering wheel, the carpets look like new. It now looks as well as it drives. Now there are only a few jobs left to do, such as I need to fix the sat-nav because that's doing my head in. That line across it is really winding me up, so that's the job for next week. So I'm going to send that off. I found a company on the internet who'll refurbish that, so I'm going to get that done. I know lots of you have suggested putting an aftermarket Android unit in, which, although they're better, I just want to stick to original with this. I don't want to put anything sort of brand new in there. I'd rather have the original unit. So I think that's what I'll do. So I think that's £220. Oh, the glove box torch was missing, so I've ordered a new one of those off eBay. But I absolutely love this car now. I love the way it looks, I love the way it drives. I love the bulge in the bonnet and the wide arches. It just looks like there's a monster inside there that's trying to escape. I've well and truly gone past the point of making a potential profit on this car. But that's not the point, is it? I mean, most of my days are spent with buying a Ford Focus, washing it, advertising it, selling it, buying a Renault Megane, fixing it, washing it, selling it. So it makes a nice change to buy something that I actually love, that's a labour of love rather than just a profit-making exercise. Or at least that's the way I justify it in my head. As many of you have told me, this car is absolutely worthless because it's got an SMG gearbox, it's got 19-inch wheels, which some of you have an unfathomable hatred for, and it's a convertible. But that's the one that I wanted. I wanted a convertible. I don't hate the SMG, this is the SMG 2. And today, while I've been stuck in traffic, I've had it in full auto mode, which can be a little bit jerky occasionally, but now I've got used to it. Well, this morning at least, it's been perfectly fine, perfectly smooth. I don't see what the big deal is. I think the SMG is the best of both worlds because I've got a dormant left leg, but I'm in charge of the gear changes. It works perfectly well. I really don't see why people hate it so much. If I had £1 for every time somebody told me, you should have gotten a coupe, man, with a stick shift, I think I would have had enough money now to pay for this project in its entirety. So I might not make a profit on this car, but I'm just pleased that I've breathed some life into this legend of a car. And I hate that word, so I'm really not using it lightly. But that's what it is. There's no other word for it. Also, one thing that all of you might be forgetting is I've put all these horrendous bills on my credit card. So think of all the air miles I'm going to earn. This time next year I'll be able to go to the moon. So cheers guys, thanks once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. Yeah, if you've got any questions or comments, leave them below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Cheers guys, I'll see you next time.